So this happened a year ago, and I'm still pretty shaken by this whole event. I live in the UK, and in autumn, it gets dark at around 4 p.m. There was a school autumn break that week, so all the kids were at home. So that means my girlfriend's brother was home too. I've been with her for a year at that point, so her family knew me pretty well, and her brother enjoyed my company. She'd recently been pretty stressed out. Her parents were going out across the country for a day, so she had to look after her brother. But I thought I'd give her a day to herself so she could cool off. I asked her parents if I could look after their son for the day instead, and they agreed. So I came around at 8 a.m. and they let me in before they set off. My girlfriend's brother woke up about an hour later, and she followed shortly afterwards. We went out for breakfast at a local cafe together and went back to her house when we were done. And once I dropped her off, I took her brother to the park. We got there about 2 p.m. and the place was pretty packed. Eventually, the sun started going down and the place was completely empty by 4 p.m. I texted my girlfriend and told her we'd be home in a bit, and she said okay. I'm gonna be honest, I completely lost track of time. Me and her brother were having fun being the only two in the park. Me and her brother were stood on top of this really tall climbing frame with a slide on it. It was almost pitch black at this point, so I was using my phone as a flashlight. A notification popped out on my screen. It was my girlfriend asking where were we. I responded, "Oops, coming home now," and told her brother we had to go. He sighed and asked if we could go down the slide, and I said yes. Before I went down, I knew what the park looked like. There were street lights all around it, benches everywhere, some trees, and places for the kids to play. When I came out of the slide, there was something weird. A man had appeared out of nowhere and was stood beneath one of the street lights. He had a trench coat and a beanie hat. I immediately got my girlfriend's brother behind me and called out to the man with a friendly, "Hi there." I got a response. He stared, groaning. I noticed he was swaying back and forth in the light, and he had his mouth open, drooling, with a blank look in his eyes. The man made me feel really fucking uneasy. I picked little bro up and kept checking on this guy the entire time. There was an exit to my left that led to the path back home, so I left that way and kept checking behind me every few seconds. The guy was still stood there. The path where the guy was stood merges with a big main path if you walk out through some bushes, and so does the one I walked through. I was walking down the path for about 2 minutes, periodically checking behind me, and I thought I was in the clear. I wasn't. I was on a straight stretch of path with lots of street lights when I saw him again. He was stood beneath one, looking up at it, and he was playing with something in his hands. I looked closer and realized it was a fucking knife. I kept walking and walking. Girlfriend's little brother was so scared, he had his head tucked into my chest. I noticed that the guy seemed to be moving to the new street lights whenever I turned around. Initially I thought it was my eyes playing tricks on me, but I started counting them and realized 2 street lights behind him had definitely turned into 5. I could faintly hear the groaning noises, and he was occasionally moaning as well. I picked up the pace a bit and turned the corner, getting into the last stretch of street before I got to my girlfriend's house. That was when I heard him behind a row of bushes. That moaning noise sounded angry, and I heard his heavy footsteps bounding down the path. The man was fucking running. I immediately broke into a sprint and did not stop until I turned an alleyway at the front of the street and got behind my girlfriend's house. There was a big bush there, so I crouched down behind that and spammed her phone with messages to open the back gate. I hugged her brother close until she opened it for us and got us in quickly. It felt like years. I went to the front of the house and had it confirmed that I'd managed to shake him. He was now in the street, circling where I'd been, outside of the alleyway just moments ago. He was still moaning. He had that knife in his hand still. He started kicking people's bins over. I called the police immediately, but he was gone by the time they arrived, and as far as I know, they never found him. There was a similar incident near the area a few months ago. I saw in a local Facebook group, but I don't think anything came of that either. Her parents thanked me for keeping their son safe. He went back to normal pretty much the day afterwards, but he still has nightmares about the event. When my country isn't in lockdown, I'm still allowed to look after him with my girlfriend. But we hadn't been to the park ever since, and I still check over my shoulder and break into a cold sweat every time I am alone in the street. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening and hope you enjoyed the stories. If so, please subscribe to our channel. It'd be an amazing support to help us share more spooky videos in the future. Also, if you have any scary experience you like to share, please send us your story on the email in the description below. So until then, have a wicked day.